Exposed, a heartwarming encounter uncovers the incredible truth about a dying man and his mother. In the heart of Maplewood, they say miracles happen, but none could compare to Jake, a humble construction worker whose unwavering resolve was about to unravel the deep connections that bind a mother and son. The town was small, but filled with big hearts, and Jake, though riddled with terminal illness, was set to challenge everything they thought they knew about resilience and regret. On the day the article hit the paper, whispers swirled about town like a summer breeze. "Did you hear? That man is fighting for his life." Eyes softened at the mention of his name. Jake was always one to lend a hand. Now, the community was gathered to return the favor. But Jake hid in shadows, consumed by pride and guilt. Memories of sharing laughter with his mother, once a vibrant retired teacher, flickered like candles about to snuff out. Regret twisted Jake's stomach into knots. The choice he made to leave the family trade of education weighed heavily on him. With every shovel of dirt moved at work, Jake felt the strain of an unspoken tension. Each swing of the hammer echoed his mother's silent disappointment. He wanted to be the son she hoped for, but he was just a man with bills piling high, fighting a battle he felt too ashamed to share. The thought of her knowing how dire his situation was felt like adding another layer to a mountain of burdens he was already grappling with. As the journalist spent days with Jake, probing into corners of his life he kept hidden, the truth spun out like thread from a spool. Behind every late-night shift, there lay a tale of love left untold. The burning desire for his mother's approval flooded back. As the reporter uncovered the sacrifices she made staying up late, working multiple jobs to afford Jake's school trips, a light entered the dark cloud hovering over Jake's heart. Those little things, they added up. And for the first time in years, Jake felt a flicker of connection reignite. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The article, a true unveiling of Jake's struggles, became a rallying call for the townsfolk. They poured into the fundraiser, smiles on their faces, determination in their hearts. But in that hospital bed, Jake lay silent, battling the urge to hide. His mother clutched the newspaper, tears cascading down her cheeks as she read the words out loud. The gravity of his illness hung heavy in the room, yet hope shimmered in that raw moment. A voice in the shadows, the past unwrapped in layers with every tear she shed. Jake felt compelled to listen. Her soft whispers about love and pride echoed in his mind. Could he finally bridge the gap? Broken and vulnerable, both were left wrestling with the same question: could he open his heart to his mother's love, or was pride destined to keep them apart? With the community enveloping him in compassion, Jake sensed the truth. The ache of isolation was deep, but the reach of forgiveness could be even greater. As the fundraiser swirled around him, a bittersweet mixture of gratitude and fear took root. The wounds of their past still lingered, but an ember of hope ignited, tempting Jake to confront the feelings he buried. It was time for the road to reconciliation, but would he take the first step, or would the shadows of pride and hurt consume him whole? The weight of silence filled the air, the answer hung delicately in the balance as the world faded to black. The following days blurred into a haze of emotions. Jake found himself in a limbo of gratitude and apprehension. The fundraiser was a success, no doubt, and yet he felt trapped between what his heart desired and the cage his pride had built. As his mother continued to read the article aloud, every word was like a haunting reminder of the walls they'd both erected over the years. "Jake, I had no idea." Her voice trembled with each realization, each revelation. She paused to wipe away her tears, her hands trembling as she clutched the paper. "I didn't know you were in so much pain." Jake's heart ached at the thought of her suffering for him. He could see the pain etched on her face, the strain of 1,000 sleepless nights reflected in her eyes. He wanted desperately to reach out, to touch her shoulder and tell her it was all right, to reassure her, to bridge the gap. But the fear of vulnerability wrapped around him like a thick fog. Instead, he lay still, the machines beeping softly around him, punctuating the growing silence between them. A single tear slipped down his cheek, the first hint of emotion breaking through his carefully constructed walls. "Why didn't you tell me, Jake?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. It was a question that echoed deeply in Jake's heart. He could feel the weight of his own silence pressing down on him. He thought about all those years spent avoiding conversations about their lives, their dreams. Instead, he chose to bury himself in work, believing it would safeguard her from worry. He watched her carefully, mentally weighing his next words. "I thought maybe it would be easier for you." The words tumbled out, just as the truth always does when you think you're ready. His mother's eyes widened, a mix of disbelief and hurt crossing her face. "Easier? Keeping me in the dark? Jake, I'm your mother. I want to be there for you. I would have done anything to help." The warmth of her love swirled around him, wrapping him tightly even as he felt the stark coldness of his choices. Did he really think he could protect her by shutting her out? The tension shifted as his mother's hands balled into fists, her jaw set in determination. "We can get through this together," she declared, her voice stronger now. "You have to let me in." Jake felt a flicker of hope push against the walls around his heart. Maybe this was the moment he'd been waiting for. Maybe all those years of separation could melt away in an instant. He took a shaky breath, nodding slowly. He could feel the swell of emotions: love, regret, hope crashing against one another like waves in a storm. "Mom, I need your help," he said, his voice breaking. "I thought I could handle it alone. But I realized I can't. I don't want to hide anymore." A spark ignited in his mother's eyes, as if they were stepping back into the warmth of a time long forgotten. She leaned closer, her hand gently covering his. "Then let us face this together, Jake. Let me stand beside you." As the words hung in the air, a sense of relief began to trickle into his soul, washing over the fear that had gripped him for far too long. But as Jake closed his eyes, the weight of the moment settled in. Now that he was willing to confront the past, what would it mean for their future? In that moment of vulnerability, the echo of unresolved issues loomed. Could love truly heal the wounds? Could they weave back the threads of their relationship strong enough to withstand the storms ahead? Jake's heart raced as he pondered the next step, the stakes soaring like never before. Would they rise from the ashes together, or would past grievances pull them apart again? With the dawn of possibility stretching before them, everything felt on the brink of change. The atmosphere in the hospital room began to shift. It felt as if a weight had been lifted, though the world outside still spun with the chaos of uncertainty. Jake opened his eyes slowly, the light soft and warm. He looked at his mother, who was now reaching for a tissue, her earlier vulnerability evolving into a quiet strength. For the first time in years, he truly saw her, the woman who had always been in his corner. "I'm so sorry, Mom," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "I thought I was doing the right thing." His mother blinked back fresh tears, but this time, they were tinged with understanding. "You didn't have to bear it alone, Jake. You don't have to pretend you're fine all the time. I'm here." The sincerity in her voice echoed through Jake, displacing the fear that had taken root in his chest. They were stepping into uncharted territory, and seeing her promise to be there ignited something within him. As they sat in a moment of quiet togetherness, Jake felt a crackling energy in the space between them. He glanced down at their joined hands, overwhelmed by the intimacy of the gesture. It felt monumental, like unearthing a treasure he didn't realize he had been searching for. The machines beeped steadily, a rhythmic reminder of the fragile life he led. "What happens now?" he asked, the vulnerability creeping back in. "What do we do?" His mother pursed her lips in thought. "We take it one step at a time. We really talk. Jake nodded, trying to push the fear of the unknown aside. The idea of opening up was both exhilarating and terrifying. There were so many layers to unravel. Not just the pain, but also the joy they had shared, the laughter that felt like a lifetime ago. Can we start with the things you love? Things that make you happy? She suggested, her voice soft but purposeful. I want to know who you are now. Jake felt a smile tug at his lips, a flicker of warmth chasing away the chill of solitude. I miss biking, he admitted, remembering the wind in his hair and the rush of freedom when he rode down familiar trails. I remember. You were so fast, I could barely keep up. She laughed, her eyes lighting up. For a moment, they both slipped back into those memories, a mother and son cocooned in the warmth of the past. Jake could almost feel the spark igniting, the tendrils of hope intertwining with nostalgia. But that spark flickered when he recalled why he had shut her out in the first place. As the laughter subsided, shadows crept back in. There's a lot between us, he started, the gravity of past grievances pressing down again. His mother met his gaze. Yes, and we can't ignore it. But if you tell me what's in your heart, I promise to listen. No judgment. Jake took a deep breath, steeling himself for the truth. I've been afraid of disappointing you, afraid of being a burden. Those words hung heavy in the air, a testament to years of silence. He watched her process this realization, and the calm that enveloped her only deepened his internal conflict. Jake, you could never be a burden to me. You are my son. You are everything to me. Her voice cracked slightly, as if the weight of her words reshaped everything they thought they knew. Jake felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes again. The room was filled with raw emotion, and he yearned to lean into it, to let it envelop him. Then why does it hurt so much? He asked, the honesty spilling out before he could catch it. His mother's eyes softened, catching the glimmers of shared pain. Because love isn't always easy. But it's worth fighting for. Just as hope began to fill the empty spaces in his heart, a heavy knock at the door startled them. A doctor stepped in, his expression unreadable. Jake, we need to talk about your progress. In that moment, the weight of reality crashed down on them, interrupting their raw conversation. The fear of what lay ahead loomed larger than ever. Could they really tackle the road ahead, or would fresh uncertainties continue to pull them back into darkness? Jake's heart raced, it felt like they were just beginning to reconnect. Only to be met with an obstacle that could change everything. What would the doctor reveal? Jake's pulse quickened as the doctor entered the room, a mixed bag of hope and dread forming in the pit of his stomach. He felt his mother's grip tighten around his hand, as if she were bracing for impact. Her reassuring look remained, yet he could sense the tension radiating from her. Good afternoon, Jake, the doctor began, glancing between them. I wanted to discuss your test results and treatment options. The words felt heavy, weighted with too many implications. Jake took a breath, his eyes locked on the doctor's expression, searching for signs of reassurance amidst the uncertainty. First, I should say that you're showing signs of improvement. Your body is responding to the treatment better than we anticipated. Jake's heart fluttered. Was this the light flickering on the horizon, or just another false dawn? He shared a cautious glance with his mother, whose eyes sparkled with tentative optimism. However, the doctor continued, there's still a long road ahead. We need to adjust your treatment plan to maintain this momentum. The air thickened as his words settled. He felt the weight of long road like a heavy cloak. Jake wished he could simply be free from the endless hospitals, from the worry gnawing at every thought. You'll have to commit to more intensive therapy and possibly include some experimental treatments, the doctor explained. His gaze was steady, but Jake noticed the nuance in his tone. It hinted at both hope and caution. Experimental? Jake echoed, the fear creeping back in. What does that mean for me really? The doctor hesitated. It means we're pushing the boundaries of current treatment in hopes of discovering something that works better for you. But it has risks. Jake's stomach dropped. There it was again, uncertainty crawling back into the space he was beginning to reclaim. He couldn't help but glance at his mother, who wore an expression of both determination and concern. "Is it worth it?" Jake asked, his voice barely a whisper. "What if it doesn't work?" "What if Jake," his mother interrupted, her voice steady, "we can't know unless we try. But I'm right here with you. You're not alone in this fight." He lingered on her words, feeling that heartwarming tether they had forged in their earlier conversation. Could he trust this new bond she offered? Was he ready to embrace risk for the sake of hope? "Okay," he finally said, glancing back at the doctor. "Let us do it. I'm ready to fight." The doctor nodded, a flicker of approval dancing in his eyes. "That's the spirit. I'll have my team put together a plan. And remember, you have a support system. You can lean on her," he said, gesturing to Jake's mother. The way the doctor said her made Jake realize just how essential that connection was. Each word felt heavy with new meaning. His mother was not just physically present, she was a lifeline, a partner in this battle against the odds. As the doctor reviewed the details of the treatment plan, Jake felt a sense of clarity wash over him, as if a fog had lifted. Maybe embracing the unknown wasn't just about fear, it was about rediscovering what it meant to fight alongside someone you loved. But as they continued discussing logistics, Jake found his thoughts drifting to the elephant in the room, the emotional distance he had put between them over the years. Just as he was about to ask her another question, a faint tremor in the air shifted everything. Do you think I should I tell you what I've really been feeling?" Jake hesitated, his voice faltering. His mother's eyes widened slightly, a mixture of eagerness and apprehension flickering across her face. "Of course, sweetheart. I want to hear everything." But before he could voice the whirlwind of thoughts rattling inside his head, the door swung open again. A nurse rushed in, her face flushed, urgency radiating from her. "Doctor, we've got a situation," she interrupted, breathlessly. Jake's heart sank. Just when he thought they were about to dive deeper into their connection, the world outside had other plans. What could possibly come next? Would they still have the chance to reveal their truths, or was this the universe's way of pulling them apart again? The nurse's urgent tone pierced through the atmosphere, pulling Jake and his mother back into the harsh reality of the hospital. Jake felt the air rush out of him, panic flickering in his chest. As the nurse moved closer to the doctor, he couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was happening could change everything. "Someone just came in from the ER, critical." The nurse's words tumbled out in rapid succession. "They need immediate assistance. There's a chance we might lose right." "Let us go," the doctor interrupted, his voice firm but calm. He immediately turned to Jake and his mother. "I'll be back as soon as I can. Stay here." As the doctor and nurse darted out of the room, the door swung shut with a resounding thud. Jake's heart raced, uncertain whether to be relieved they had a moment alone or worried about what could be happening down the hall. I hope they're okay," Jake stammered, a stray tear escaping his eye. Moments ago, he had been prepared to open up to his mother, but now the gravity of the situation had formed another chasm between his thoughts and the words he wanted to say. She reached for his hand again, squeezing it tightly. "We need to be hopeful. They have trained people for situations like this." Jake looked at her, searching for the steady drum of her optimism. There was an energy about her that made everything seem just a little more bearable. Still, doubt gnawed at him. "What if they don't make it?" he whispered, not wanting to voice the fear that hung heavily in the air. His mother inhaled deeply, her gaze intense and unwavering. "Then we honor them by fighting harder, by believing in ourselves." Her words stirred something inside Jake, yet they also seemed like a challenge. Could he really face the darkness that often loomed around them? "Mom, there's something I need to tell you," Jake finally started, hesitant but determined. I've been feeling so lost with everything going on. The treatments, being stuck here sometimes, it all feels like it's too much. I know, Jake. I see it. And it's okay to feel that way, she said, her voice softening. But together we can navigate this. You don't have to carry it all alone. Just then, the door swung open again, and the doctor rushed back in, his expression serious. Jake's heart plummeted. Jake, we need to prep you for the next steps in your treatment. But first, there's something crucial I need to explain about the experimental options. The doctor's words felt detached, as if they were echoes of Jake's own emotions surging and crashing at the precipice of clarity. He glanced at his mother. Her expression turned shadowed with concern, but also determination. Wait, Jake interrupted, a sudden realization sparking. What if this isn't just about me? What if there are more people out there fighting like us? What if this experimental treatment could help others too? The room fell quiet, the doctor momentarily taken aback. That's actually a really insightful perspective, Jake. Yeah, his mother chimed in, light igniting in her eyes. This could be more than just a fight for one life, it could be for a community. We're not just in this for you. We're in it together. Jake felt hope bubble up within him as he pondered her words. Maybe, just maybe, they could spin the thread of their struggles into something larger. But before he could articulate his further thoughts, the alarm on the nearby monitor began to beep erratically, piercing the fragile optimism that had enveloped them. The doctor rushed to check the readings as Jake's pulse quickened, realization sinking deeper. Was he prepared for what challenges lay ahead? What's happening? Jake's voice trembled in the silence, eyes shifting back to his mother, who wore an expression of fierce resolve. The doctor turned with urgency. We need to act fast, he replied. Your treatment plan just became a race against time. The tension in the room crackled, electrifying the air with uncertainty. Jake's mind was a tempest of fears and hopes, but one thought surfaced clearer than the others: was he truly ready to take back control of his story? Or was he about to be swept away by the storm? Jake's heart pounded against his ribs as the doctor glanced urgently between the monitor and Jake. Time felt like it was slipping away, each second a strain on his frail body. The beep of the monitor became a countdown, each sound reverberating in the air. Jake, listen closely, the doctor spoke firmly, grabbing Jake's attention. This experimental treatment can't wait. We have a small window of opportunity, and your results indicate we need to begin immediately. We'll be monitoring your vitals closely. Jake nodded, but he could feel the heat of panic creeping into his thoughts. He thought about everything, his past, his hopes, his dreams. It all seemed to hang in the balance, like the fragile strands of a web exposed to the wind. Each breath felt more labored as the urgency in the room seeped deeper. His mother leaned in closer. You've got this, Jake. You're not alone. She smiled, but it was tinged with worry. He could see the turmoil behind her bright eyes. They were fighting their own battle, but they were in it together, bound by shared experience. But what if the treatment doesn't work? Jake's voice was barely above a whisper, thick with vulnerability. She cupped his face in her hands, grounding him in this moment. Then we fight on. You hear me? No matter what happens, we're in this fight together. Her words sparked a warmth in him. The fear still loomed like a shadow, but it was intertwined with a growing defiance. For the first time, he felt more than the dread. He felt hope tugging at his spirit. Okay, he said bravely. Let us do this. As the doctor began discussing the details of the treatment, Jake clung to his mother's hand, a lifeline amidst chaos. The doctor explained the risks, but with each word, Jake felt the impulse to lean into the storm. He imagined standing tall, unyielding, like a tree swaying but never breaking. When the doctor stepped aside to make preparations, silence enveloped them. Jake felt a wave of uncertainty wash over him again. What if I'm not strong enough? His mom's grip tightened. Strength isn't the absence of fear. It's about what you choose to do despite it. Remember that. Just then, the door opened, revealing a nurse with a warm smile, offering distraction. Jake, we'll be moving you to the treatment room soon. Are you ready? Jake hesitated, then met her eyes and nodded. I'm ready. The nurse approached, explaining what was to come, but Jake's mind was more on what lay beyond this moment. He felt the flickering flame of hope grow stronger, a beacon in an otherwise dark space. For the first time, he imagined not just surviving this ordeal but using it to forge a brighter path ahead, not just for himself but for others like him who were struggling. They rolled him into the corridor, lights flashing overhead like shooting stars welcoming him to a different universe. But then he spotted a figure at the end of the hallway. An older man, gray hair and a haggard expression, collapsed onto a bench, his hand cradling a younger person, their faces pale, drawn. Jake's heart ached. Mom, who are they? She turned toward the man, concern etched into her features. I don't know, honey. But they look like they're fighting their own battle. In that instant, Jake felt a stirring in his chest, a call to action. What if he could do something for them? What if his fight could inspire others? I want to know their story, he said, determination flickering in his eyes. As the nurse pushed him further, Jake's thoughts raced. What if the connection he sought wasn't just in his fight but in others too? Would sharing their experiences ignite a collective spirit of resilience? Jake, it's going to be okay, his mother said, squeezing his hand. You're about to take a step toward healing. But looking back at the man and the figure beside him, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just about him anymore. Would he find the courage to not only focus on his survival but also to reach out to those around him? And what stories awaited him in the corridors of this hospital? The wheels of the gurney rolled noisily down the corridor, each bump a reminder of the urgency laced in the air. Jake's eyes flickered back to the man on the bench. The weight of unspoken stories hung heavy between them, and for a moment, the world around him seemed to dull. Mom, he said softly, I really want to know what's happening over there. His mother's gaze followed his, filled with compassion for the stranger. Maybe they're like us, just trying to find their way through all of this. Jake felt an odd sense of connection, a thread pulling at him, binding them in shared suffering. It was hard to tell whether it was hope or fear driving the urge to reach out. He wanted to scream, to tell the world that they were all fighting their own battles, but words got tangled in his throat. As they approached a large set of double doors marked treatment room, a wave of apprehension washed over him. He took a deep breath, each breath more difficult than the last. Just before they entered, he glanced back at the man again. The older man was now brushing the hair of the younger one, who was slumped against him. A protective gesture, one filled with love and desperation all at once. Jake, focus on what's next, his mom urged gently, squeezing his hand again. You're about to take a step forward. The nurse pushed through the doors, and suddenly, the world became filled with bright lights and sterile smells. The room was buzzing with activity, medical staff moving with purpose. Machines beeped, and the faint smell of antiseptic lingered in the air. Jake squinted against the light, and a serious-looking doctor approached them. Jake, we're ready to begin, he said, the enthusiasm in his voice veiled under layers of professionalism. Are you prepared? As ready as I'll ever be, Jake replied, though his heart pounded wildly in his chest. His mom leaned down, her voice barely above a whisper. Just remember, no matter what, you're stronger than you think. The words sank deep within him. They stuck to him like a shield, but just as easily, doubts cut through them. What if the treatment didn't work? They started the process, wheels whirring, machines humming. Jake felt a pang of sadness amid the chaos, knowing that while he was stepping into the unknown, someone else, even strangers, were quietly living their own nightmare. I wish I knew their story, he said aloud, conscientious of the medical team around him. What do you think it is? His mom asked, her eyes searching his. I bet it's filled with love, hope and fear. Maybe they need a little bit of courage like me." Time blurred as the doctor prepared him for the treatment. The force slid into his arm, causing a prick that was more reassuring than painful. It felt familiar, like a lifeline reaching out rather than a reminder of his fragility. As the medication flowed through him, Jake focused on the feeling of warmth spreading through his veins. What if he could connect the dots? What if sharing their struggles could bring light to their darkness, revealing beauty buried beneath pain? Just then, as everything began to fade around him, he spotted a nurse walking briskly towards his mom. "Excuse me, ma'am," the nurse said, pausing beside his mother. "I think you should know there's been a development regarding the family you saw in the hallway." Jake's heart raced. What did she mean? Did that family need help? "Mom, what is it?" he asked, the fear swelling back in his chest. Would their story end in tragedy, or would it open a door to a new beginning? He leaned closer, desperate for whatever information she had. As the nurse continued speaking, Jake's thoughts couldn't shake that flicker of hope. What if their lives as included could intersect at this very moment? But soon, they would find out whether courage could transform not just individual battles, but the shared human experience fighting against the darkness. And so, he waited. Jake's heart thudded in his chest, each beat amplifying his curiosity and worry. The nurse's words hung in the air like a fragile promise, each syllable filled with unknown weight. His mother's anxious gaze locked onto the nurse, the lines of concern etching deeper on her face. "Is it bad?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. The nurse hesitated, glancing back at the busy activity of the treatment room. "It's complicated," she finally said, her eyes flickering between Jake and his mom. "The family is facing some challenges, but there's also a possibility for hope." "I thought you'd want to know before what?" Jake interjected, suddenly desperate. Before the nurse could finish her thought, a sudden chill swept through the room, and the warmth in his veins faded to a distant memory. The doctor's voice, assuring yet earnest, broke through Jake's worry. "Jake, we're about to start the treatment now. I need you to focus on your breathing." Jake nodded, trying to ground himself in the moment. But as the sterile lights brightened around him, shadows danced in the corners of his mind, shadows of that family. Who were they? What was the struggle they faced? As the doctor adjusted the machines, Jake felt an unsettling mix of empathy and confusion. He wanted to know their story, but more than that, he wanted to share his own. Could this treatment connect them somehow? A part of him wondered if opening up about his fight could ease their pain, a ripple effect of understanding that could transcend their fates. "Jake," the doctor said, bringing him back. "I need you to focus." Inhale deeply. The moment the doctor spoke, Jake's gaze flickered around the room. Did anyone here know the anguish of waiting? The uncertainty that came with the ticking of the clock? He dared to think about that protective gesture he had seen earlier, the older man brushing the hair of the younger one. What would it take for him to be that steady presence for someone else? "Jake," his mom whispered again, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "It's going to be okay." He gripped her hand tighter, letting her faith wash over him like a balm. "I know, Mom," he replied, though he wasn't sure. Maybe it was okay not to know everything right now. Maybe just being here, bearing witness to both joy and sorrow, was enough. The doctor signaled to the nurse, and before Jake could register the shift, they were all poised around him, their expressions determined. "On my count." As they began the treatment, the soft whoosh of the machine drowned out his thoughts. The warmth returned, spiraling through his body like a calm tide. But the image of that young boy's frail figure loomed large in his mind. What if their lives intertwined? What if, in this darkest hour, a flicker of light emerged from their interconnected struggles? Then, his mother jolted beside him. "Oh my," she breathed, eyes glued to the door. "I think they're coming back." Jake's pulse quickened as he turned towards the entrance, uncertainty swirling within him. Who was coming? Would this development bring clarity or chaos to the already fragile moment? In the rising tension, the gurney rolled back through the door, and the nurse from before stepped in, her expression hardly masking the urgency in her voice. "We need another family meeting right now." Jake's breath hitched. There it was again, the sensation of stories colliding, the potential for connection beckoning. Did this lead to their deeper understanding, or would it pull them further apart? All he knew was, every heartbeat now felt like a promise of change, and he was ready to embrace it. The tension in the room clung heavy in the air as the nurse's words echoed. Another family meeting. Jake's eyes widened, searching his mother's face for answers. A storm of emotions brewed inside him: fear, anxiety, and an unshakable curiosity. His mother squeezed his hand, her grip steady yet filled with urgency. "Stay close, Jake," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. The door swung open, and Jake's heart raced, pounding like a drum in his chest. He watched as a group of somber faces entered, 2 adults and a thin boy who looked too small for his age. The boy's haunted eyes scanned the room, and in that fleeting moment, Jake felt a connection that ran deeper than words. The adults whispered to each other, their body language tense, as if sharing silent fears. To Jake, they were a living embodiment of everything he worried about: the fragility of life, the unbearable anguish of losing someone you loved. But there was also a spark igniting within him, urging him forward. His gaze drifted to the boy. A flicker of recognition passed between them. It was as if they were both on opposing sides of an invisible barrier. The atmosphere shifted, thickening with unspoken words and shared pain. Just then, the doctor emerged, his expression a mix of concern and resolve. "We're here for both families," he began, capturing everyone's attention. "We need to discuss the available treatments for your loved ones. It's imperative that we're all on the same page." Throughout his speech, Jake remained transfixed by the boy. The way he nodded in agreement to what was said, but the trembling of his lip told a different story. Jake wanted to reach out, to tell him they weren't alone. But words failed him. Suddenly, Jake's mother stood up, her voice rising above the tension. "What are the next steps? What can we do?" The effectiveness of her words hung momentarily in the air, as if meeting a breaking point. The doctor took a breath, his eyes searching each face. "There are options, but they come with risks. We must prioritize quality of life." Jake understood fully that quality was a fragile thing, just like the hope resting in the teetering edge of that conversation. After hearing those words, he felt the weight of despair wash over him, forcing him to wonder, what if the treatments didn't work? What if they lost someone? That question loomed larger than any of the machines surrounding him. The fear settled in his stomach like a stone. As the adult family members began discussing their options, Jake leaned over to his mom. "Can we do anything for them? What if we can be there for them, Jake?" she whispered, her eyes glistening with tears. Her reassurance ignited a flicker of determination within him. Before he could say more, the boy caught his gaze again. Jake noticed a slight nod, a silent acknowledgement of the universe aligning in their shared struggle. Maybe this was how their lives would intertwine, by lifting each other, even just a little. The meeting dragged on, filled with medical jargon that blurred together, but through it all, Jake felt a magnetic pull toward that boy. They were in the same storm even if their boats were different. And just as Jake contemplated how they could bridge the gap, the boy's mother broke down, voicing fears that echoed Jake's own. "What if we don't have time?" she sobbed, and Jake's heart shattered a little more. Faced with their vulnerabilities, something profound shifted within him. At that moment, he silently vowed to find a way to connect, to be a beacon, a shield, a friend, no matter what lay ahead. The meeting concluded, and as everyone shuffled out, Jake took a deep breath. He whispered to his mom, "I have to talk to him." His mother nodded, pride shining through her fear. Jake strode towards the boy, determination coursing through him like electricity. "Hey," he started, heart racing. "I'm Jake. Can we be friends?" The boy looked up, surprise flashing across his face, mixing with hope. But just as a smile began to crack, the boy's mother turned abruptly, her voice cutting through the moment. "We don't need any distractions right now." Jake felt the words sting, but he didn't waver. This was the beginning of a connection forged through understanding, hope, and an unspoken promise. Would that connection survive the storm closing in around them? Before he could process her reaction, the moment shifted, and Jake knew one thing for certain: he had to try harder, fight for something deeper. What would his next move be? Jake stood still, the sting of the mother's words echoing in his mind. He recoiled a bit, but something inside him wouldn't allow him to retreat. The young boy was his mirror, facing an unseen battle, needing connection just as much as he did. "Wait!" he shouted, his voice breaking through the tension. "Please, can we just talk?" The boy looked uncertain, glancing at his mother, but there was a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. "Look," Jake continued, trying to keep his voice steady. "I know this isn't easy. Trust me. I'm fighting my own battle, but I also know how much it helps to have someone to share it with." The boy shifted, his small shoulders burdened by enormous weight. "I'm Ben," he said quietly, the name a whisper barely reaching beyond them. Jake smiled, feeling a warmth flood through him. "Ben, I'm so glad to meet you. I'm in here for treatment, just like you. And I get it, this is scary." The silence that hung between them shifted, like a breeze stirring up hopes that had been buried under fear. Jake's mother, lingering in the background, watched their exchange with cautious optimism. "Mom," Ben piped up, looking unsure but emboldened by Jake's invitation. "Can I talk to him for a second?" The mother hesitated, a battle of emotions written across her face. But with a soft sigh, she relented. "Okay. Just a few minutes, sweetie." As if a wall had collapsed, Ben stepped closer, his curiosity overcoming the worry. "What kind of treatment are you getting?" "Chemotherapy and some experimental stuff, trying to be brave in spite of it all," Jake replied, feeling relieved to share his struggle. "And you?" "Same here, but it's hard. I feel weak all the time." Ben's voice trembled, and then he added, "I wish I could do more." A wave of understanding washed over Jake. "You're already doing more than you know. It takes strength just to be here, just to face another day. Some days, that's enough." Ben nodded slowly, absorbing the weight of Jake's words. "It feels lonely sometimes," he whispered. "Like nobody really understands." "I get that, buddy," Jake said, the heaviness of truth settling between them. "But maybe we can lean on each other? We both have our battles, but we're not alone anymore, right?" As uncertainty shifted to a glimmer of hope in Ben's eyes, Jake felt a relief wash over him, an understanding that as they forged ahead, two warriors were more powerful than one. They could rise together, creating a network of strength and resilience that reached beyond their struggles. Just then, the door swung open again, and the doctor re-entered, prepared to lay out the treatment steps. "All right, Jake. It's time to get started," he said, glancing curiously at the two boys. Jake turned to Ben, the urgency of their moment pulling him back. "I'm rooting for you, Ben. You've got this," he urged, his heart filled with genuine care. Ben's eyes widened, a spark of hope ignited. "Thanks, Jake. You too." There was a shared fire between them, a fierce acknowledgement of their fight. The moment lingered as Jake turned back to the doctor. His mother's warm presence grounded him, filling him with fortitude as they delved into the medical specifics of the experimental treatment. He grasped the importance of leaning into love, both from his mother and from the unexpected friendship budding with Ben. As the drip began to flow, Jake's mind wandered back to the family he had seen earlier. "Mom," he said, voice steady despite everything swirling inside him. "Can we help them? They seem like they need our support." His mother nodded, pride sparkling in her eyes right alongside the determination. Absolutely, sweetheart. Let us reach out to them. The duality of their journey transformed into a united path. As the machines hummed around him, Jake felt a shift in the atmosphere like fresh energy surged, lifting the weight of despair. Each unfamiliar sight in the treatment room became a testament to possibility, where connections could bloom under even the darkest clouds. Jake's heart swelled with purpose. They were all fighting, each refining their own stories to withstand the fears they faced. In this moment, Jake knew he would dedicate himself not just to his own healing, but also to the bonds they were forming, the community that could rise from the ashes of suffering. Let us show them what it means to be together, he declared, meeting his mother's gaze as she beamed with pride. Together, she echoed, and that one word held the power to uplift them all. Every heartbeat and every breath became a step forward, towards something brighter than they had ever known, a future transformed not only by determination, but by love, connection, and the shared human experience, ready to carve out hope from despair. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.